And lately, confidence has been such a huge topic for me because I feel like that's the number one reason why people don't reach goals that, they know that they're capable of bigger and better things, but what's really stopping them from getting started on improving themselves or setting those lofty goals for themselves so they can really start pursuing them. So confidence is just such a huge topic, and this relates to everything else in life too. And a formula that I've created for people is, you have to put in the reps if you want to gain confidence in any area of your life. And if you're, I know you're geared towards young man, so if you're a young man trying to, build the confidence to talk to girls or just public speaking in general, or really anything in life, you can kind of follow this formula. So, like I said, you have to put in the reps. So there's the R.E.P. The
Yeah.
R.
So could you explain that, break that down for us, please? What does the acronym stand for?
Yep. R is reflect. So that's number one thing. I really feel like most people don't take the time to really reflect on where they're at. And
And why do you think
there's
that is?
you know what? Maybe they're just comfortable with where they're at, or they're so distracted by other things in their life that it's just fine for them to just relax, and they just don't take that time and to think about what success means to them, and really think about that and start to pursue goals because and um, I yeah, it's I just don't think people take the
Hmm.
time to think about it. But if you're listening to this podcast, you listen to other self-improvement podcasts, then you're already, started on that path. You've started to reflect and think about areas that you can improve. So that's great. But it's really important for you to sit down, and there's so many other ways you can do this as well. You can journal to yourself every day. It's a great way to really get your thoughts out on paper and help you build a perspective and, why you feel a certain way on different topics. And so you build, confidence in talking about those things if those topics come up in person as well, and kind of help develop your opinions on things. So it could be, like I said, journaling. It could be talking to somebody, whether that be a family member or a friend or a therapist. And there's nothing wrong if you need help to go see a therapist, or, it's good to just have somebody, an extra person on your team to talk to and help you build that confidence and help you form that perspective. So,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
that,
to add right there, I guess before you move to the next one, I
yep.
think one thing that could also kind of contribute to people not being prone to reflecting is the fact that just, the majority of people don't really live intentionally. One thing I'll say from my experience, and you can probably relate, is when you have set defined goals or things that you're shooting for, if you have a set path that you're trying to go down, it's a lot easier to reflect because you actually have something to kind of compare your progress to, if that makes sense. If you, let's say, I'm trying to drive from point A to point B. Obviously, if I'm not getting anywhere closer to point A, if I'm going towards point C, you have to reflect, and you have no choice but to kind of self-examine and see what the issue is to be able to get to what that goal is. But when you're kind of living in autopilot mode, I guess you can say, or just just like just a boat in the middle of the water with no direction, it's really hard to kind of reflect because you have no, I wouldn't say no incentive, but nothing to push it, nothing to,
Yeah,
I guess, to spark it, if that makes sense.
absolutely. So, yeah, I would say, the biggest thing I can say is just to start somewhere. Do that initial reflection. If you realize that health and fitness is the biggest thing you need to improve on, if an ideal body is something that's important for you to, feel successful, then, and to me, success is just feeling fulfilled in all areas of life. So if having an ideal body is part of that, then just start working on that. Find something that works for you, and then you can start measuring your progress, and that's where the reflection comes in. But you have to start somewhere, and it doesn't have to be health and fitness. It could be your relationships, it could be your career, really anywhere. And you may be like blindly in when I was in school, I obviously, I took it seriously. I was making sure that I was working towards a career path that I would feel I had purpose in and that I enjoyed. And, I wanted to get the best grades. So I had the best opportunities in those fields, but I didn't really have an eye on, or, the mindset that it was really a self-improvement thing, that I was always improving. I was just working, doing my best. But this whole mindset really definitely does, it helps with that, and being able to measure progress and being able to reflect for sure. So
Yeah, that's great, man. I agree. I kind of had a similar situation going into school, and had to really buckle down and see what my goals were, what I needed to do to reach them, and how my academics needed to align with that. And so I can definitely see where you're coming from. And that kind of covers, I guess, the first part in the acronym for REP. So that's the R. What's the
yep.
E?
Yep. E is educate. So just educate yourself, read books, listen to podcasts. Really, podcasts are such an amazing thing now, because it's not like, how many books have you read where you don't know the author behind the book? Podcasts really allow you to get to know the person and see that transparency, that they're really just trying to help you. And you can really connect with the personality and the person. And they have just great, you can really get to know their background, where they came from. And so you really take those tips and tricks and see the value in them. So no matter what area that you're trying to get better at, you can look up a podcast in that category. But you can really, whatever works for you. If reading is better for you, then get to read books. But like I said, and that's something that, it's really helped develop for me, is I now get to know the authors behind the books, and, get to appreciate that and their backgrounds, where they came from. And it gives you a whole different perspective. And it's something you can see in movies. If someone who did writing for a movie, even if it's a comedy movie, and oh, this was, this has this person in it, or it was written by this person, you kind of get that feel, you get the vibes that person usually has, and you're like, oh, they probably wrote that line, and I love her, their humor. And so you relate to it more. And it's the same thing with books. If you get to know the person, and see that their incentive is really just to help you, it's just such a great way to so that's really the E part, is just educating yourself so you can build confidence. And that really plays into I'm sure you've heard, the knowledge is power. And a better way to think about that too is really knowledge is potential. You can't really do anything if you just have the knowledge, but you have the potential to access that other level because you have that knowledge.
Okay, so for the education part, building the knowledge base is what gives you the potential for competency, which would come from the next one, right? Which is the
Right.
practice. I think practice is
Yep.
the P one, right?
Right. And you can reflect and you can educate yourself as much as you want, but practice is really where you're going to build that confidence in yourself. So,
Right.
you've built that knowledge base, you've reflected on yourself and found where you need to use improvement, and now you're putting that into practice. If you want to be a better speaker, the best thing you can do is to go speak. You're not going to get better if you just simply read a book on it and how to be a better speaker. You really need to perform, and that's where you're just going to get better and better. So again, if you're trying to get better at talking to girls as a young man, you need to just get out there and just form conversations. Even if it's not a girl you're physically attracted in, just talk to them and get to know them and have conversations. And that's really how relationships develop. And obviously you just get better and more comfortable with talking to people in general. And so, yeah, it's important. And so really putting that practice in, no matter what you want to gain confidence in. And this really helps, no matter, even if you feel like a confident person in
Right.
general, this really helps you with no matter what venture you want to go into. You really need to put those reps in to get to that level, so that you can, reach that goal that you want to achieve.
Yeah. To touch on this, I think one thing that a lot of guys probably fall into is like that rabbit hole of personal development or self-improvement, where you're taking in all the content, you're reading all the books, listening to all the podcasts. But at the end of the day, a lot of guys may not actually be going out and applying the stuff. And so
Right.
then, just to use the example that you brought up, like let's say somebody wanted to build that confidence that we're talking about through rep, to go talk to women, to go meet a future partner. A lot of guys, might watch a lot of dating content on YouTube. There's plenty of that, and like, I
Mhm.
guess you could say the manosphere that like gives advice for those sort of things. But one thing that you'll notice is that probably the majority don't actually go out and apply the stuff. And I guess the perception of it could be that it might be kind of weird to practice some things because, of course, if someone's trying to like build confidence playing the piano, nothing's weird about practicing playing the piano. If you want to be a good accountant, then you would practice accounting. But I guess you could say that it's kind of looked at in a completely different way, at least for a lot of people. Like, let's say for that same example, if you wanted to work on approaching women or something like that, to actually go out and practice that. Of course, some guys do it, but the vast majority, they probably can't even walk up and approach one, just because of the lack of confidence or like that. I guess that
Yeah.
fear in the back of their mind of what would happen if they got rejected. And so, yeah, talk about that a little bit. Like, what are some tips that you would give them to do something like that that might be outside their norm, I guess you can say, to get into, I guess, enough of a comfort zone, or I guess to phrase it better, to jump out of their comfort zone to do something like that by that same, I guess, example, if they wanted to go talk to women, if you wanted to practice that to get better.
Yeah, yeah. And this is kind of it. There's no simple answer to this. It really just jumps back to you just need to get started somewhere. You need to realize, be honest with yourself and say, I'm not good at this, so I'm going to make a conscious effort to get better. And so I need to practice this and I need to reach out. And it shouldn't be tough. Like I said, it doesn't have to be somebody that you want to for them to be your girlfriend, potentially just somebody to talk to form conversations with. And the more you do that, the more confident you're going to be. And so really just get started. And if in the most important thing, you need to reflect with yourself, be honest, and then you can start looking towards, books, podcasts, YouTube videos, things that help you, and then put it into practice. You really just
Mm-hmm.
need to start somewhere, or otherwise you're going to get stuck in that rabbit hole. And and it's important that you need to act on. If you're missing that practice part, then you're really not going to develop those skills that you want to develop.
Yeah. And I think honestly, it comes from having a strong enough why, because, with anything that you decide to, get to the point of practicing, to do that deliberate action, to be consistent, have the work ethic and hold yourself accountable to that, like what we were talking about, you have to have a strong reason to do it. And so I guess it just comes from doing that first part, which is a reflection and seeing why this is something that you would want to put in work towards in the first place. And one thing I think we could also touch on is how confidence in one area can carry over into different aspects of your life. Like, you can think about it like this. Let's say a guy is really good at basketball. He's like, all American, something like that. He's going D1 and to go play for, a major university like Texas Tech or Baylor or somebody like that, somebody really good at basketball. I'm sure that confidence that he has as a D1 basketball player can probably carry over into other aspects of his life. And so even though he may not, even though that, I guess that proficiency may not be, how do I put it, I guess, shown in different areas, he still might walk into that with that same confidence because he has like that strong sense of self from his proficiency that he's shown in something else. Would you agree with that? That it can
Yeah,
kind of work that way too?
absolutely. I mean, even if you're an introvert, you hang out, you really mainly, you're with yourself, you still have skills that you can develop and gain confidence in. If it's an instrument, if it's, you know, uh, anything really, you can gain confidence in yourself. And that really helps with all areas of your life. If you're truly passionate about something and show purpose in something, then you're really going to give out that confidence, and people like that transparency and, just being who you are. And a lot of people, I hear a lot of people say that they struggle with, finding purpose or finding themselves. And, there's really no trick to that other than you need to find, what makes you happy, what your lifestyle is and what goals you want to pursue. And it's not to, you shouldn't be following somebody else's path or comparing yourself to other people, but just focus on yourself and where you can build confidence and what can make you better. I'm an introvert, for example. I really hung out to myself, and just by doing podcasts and talking to people, and I just get better and better. And it's good to form these relationships, and I see, there's so much value in it. And so it's great to, form those relationships, and it builds confidence just in speaking in general. And it's just a great thing. So really, like you're saying, it really does protrude in other ways as well. So confidence is just such a great topic to try and help, because a lot of people, like I said, I think that's the number one reason people really won't go after a goal. There are other reasons, like we talked about how there's that fear of the unknown. They don't know if they invest money and time into something, if it's really going to be worth it. But in the end, if it's a goal that means something to you, then you're going to build that confidence. And like you're saying, it helps in other areas. And if you fail, you learn the value in that, and you at least gain skills along the way that help you develop.